When I wrote that book, I was thinking about .NET developers who have experience in a different area than mobile dev, like maybe ASP.NET Core, or .NET developers doing really anything else, who are interested in cross-platform mobile dev. So .NET MAUI has evolved from Xamarin Forms, which was before it, and it's a lot more aligned with the kind of common practices and developer experiences that .NET devs are used to, which really Xamarin wasn't. It requires a bit of a paradigm shift. With cross-platform mobile dev, it's different to what you've done before. So there's still, I mean, you could say learning curve, but I guess paradigm shift is probably the right phrase. It requires a different approach to how you build software and a different way of thinking about the products that you build. .NET developers to read this and actually realize that they, no matter what they've done before, they can actually build cross-platform mobile and desktop apps if they want to. It's a tough question because there are things that I've built that I'm proud of that I can't really talk about because they're either client projects. There's one that I'm really, really proud of that it is not a client project, and it's something that I'm intending to share publicly very soon, but it's not quite ready yet. I might just tell you, and then if people heard it here first, then they heard it here first. I've been working on a bunch of things. One is a hands-on workshop to accompany the book. So the book has a lot of hands-on elements, but it's also one of the goals of the book is to really make people self-sufficient and independent and be able to understand what they're doing, not just follow the bouncing ball, so to speak. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's theory heavy, it's not, but it's got a lot of explanation in it. So I've created a workshop which is just follow the bouncing ball, just do what it says. There is some explanation in there, but very little. And I haven't released that yet, but I am intending to release that soon. I've also actually built a platform to deliver that on, which I'll talk about more when I'm ready as well. But there's also a demo app which I have built, which I'm also going to open source and release, and it's basically a Teams clone. And it's full stack. It's everything from the cloud, the deployment, the mobile app, web app, everything. The truth is, there isn't really an answer. You kind of just have to adapt based on the situation. I used to work in infrastructure support, so I'm no stranger to firefighting and urgent tasks. And I think now the kind of work that I do now is very different, and I don't face that challenge as much. With that said, so I also have a podcast, and we had an episode last year. The title was Burn Down Burnout, and we spoke exactly about this very problem. And it's quite funny because through the process of talking about it, I kind of acknowledged that I've been around the block enough times to know when to push back and say this is too much, and we need to rethink some things. But I think I'm also self-aware enough to know that I probably will do it again. Like when you're in a high pressure project or high pressure scenario, and you do take pride in your work and you do take things seriously, you take things on, you get things done. But with that said, so balancing long-term requirements versus urgent issues, it's really a question of stakeholder management. It's a question of ensuring that priorities are visible and that work is visible, and then it's up to really the stakeholder to decide this is the budget that we've got for this week or for this sprint or whatever. And I say budget in terms of hours or effort points, whatever you want to call it, and this is what needs to be done, and we have to decide what's getting done. Learning, I think I've kind of come to acknowledge that learning from past mistakes doesn't necessarily mean changing behavior. I think when you can recognize a pattern in yourself and you can say, yeah, I've done this before and this is kind of what triggered this before, I'm actually going to do it again this time, but I'm going to do it again this time with my eyes open is different to, because it looks like on paper we're not getting things done. And then you dive into it more and it looks like on paper that some people are getting more done than others. And I tried a few different ways of tackling this. And I remember I had a team meeting and I proposed to the team, we're going to gamify it, right? We're going to have scorecards, and there's going to be points, and at the end of each week we'll see who's done what, and we'll tally up the points, and we'll have like a weekly champion or whatever. And I presented this in the team meeting, and everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, cool, that sounds good. And then one individual asked me to stay back afterwards, to have a word? And I was like, yeah, no worries. So I stayed back afterwards and spoke to this individual, and he said, look, I understand why we're doing this, and I understand that we have this problem, but is this going to help, or is this going to cause more division, and is this going to make the gap widen? Because at the end of the day, are we not a team, and are we not supposed to hit these targets together as a team? And if we're not, then should we be praising people that are going above and beyond and demonizing people that aren't keeping up, or should we be as a team all helping each other out? And I thought about it, and as it happens, this individual was the low performing individual, so it was a bit self-serving, but it was also actually 100% on point. So I scrapped that idea and came up with something else. Nothing good. So I tried a few different things, and at the end of the day, we kind of had to acknowledge that this particular individual was quite comfortable performing at the level they were performing at. Like, it's not that they didn't have ambition. It's just that where they were at in life and in work and all their circumstances, there was no real drive to improve their performance on their part. So really all we could do was kind of acknowledge that, and I think the hardest part of that is managing frustrations from others in the team that feel like they were carrying this person. But then it was really the end state was coming up with strategies for managing that on their behalf, because what we can't do is say, okay, you just have to have all the all the easy or shit jobs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, use that word. You can't just sort of dump all the things that no one else wants to do on this individual while other people do more interesting things. But what you can do is you can set your own boundaries, and you can say, when this individual comes to you and says, I'm struggling with this, I need your help, you can say, well, I'm sorry, but I can't help you because I'm doing this, that, or the other. Now, if you've got the time, absolutely help. But if you don't, it's perfectly okay to set, don't get frustrated about this person holding you back, because we are a team and you've got your own work to do. And yes, you should be helping others. But if someone is repeatedly coming to you and distracting you from your own work, there's a very healthy and professional and respectful way to set a boundary. Time boxing, right? You can say to this person, yeah, I got 10 minutes. And if you can't solve it in 10 minutes, then you've just got to say, I'm sorry, we couldn't get to the bottom of this. So, you can do one of two things. You can escalate it, you can transfer it to me and I'll get to it when I can. There's other ways of handling this, but there's ways of managing that within a team, as a team, without kind of ostracizing or cutting that person out. For me, well, look, first of all, this is something, again, that I've spoken about recently on my podcast. There is a difference between leadership and management. And, the difference is that management is essentially about resources, right? Whether those resources are human or capital or what have you, right? The role of a manager is to manage those resources. Role of a leader is to empower people and ensure that other people do their best, and is to bring out the best in others and support others. And I think, with that said, it is somewhat difficult to be a good manager without also being a good leader. And I think one of the core qualities of leadership that I personally admire, and in fact, the one that I think is actually the defining quality of leadership, is accountability. And I think that what that means is that you play human shield for other people when you have to. I'm not saying that you need to burden yourself with all the world's problems. That's obviously not healthy, and that is a very, very rapid path to burnout. But, sharing accountability and stand up for people, I think that's important. Most importantly, be accountable for yourself. Deflecting blame onto others is a sign of poor leadership and poor character, in my view. And by the same token, assigning praise and being generous with praise, and acknowledging others and celebrating others and making sure that everyone gets their due. And often that means taking and sharing a win as a team, and I think that's really important for team cohesion, especially when everyone is pulled together. But it also means acknowledging the triumphs of individuals when they deserve that acknowledgement.